Welcome to the Chapter 10 test review. I'm going to try to be very fast, tell you what charts you need to take a particular look at, explain some things that maybe won't be 100% clear off the charts, and I'm going to be honest with you, when you see me like skip over a chart and make no comment, probably means that's not one you need to worry about for the exam. So very quickly, this whole section, this whole exam is about executing the strategy. Talks about it's hard. It's a team effort. Everybody gets involved. Don't need to worry about that. These are the reasons that you have to communicate a new strategy, not on the test. Don't need to worry about that. But I really like this slide because it drives home the point that good strategy execution is determined by whether you're hitting your performance targets and whether you've got real proficiency in your value chain. And you know that that's true for you in Globus. You're being held to that very standard. This chart is important. It talks about the three key actions to building an organization: staffing it, developing the capabilities, structuring the work effort. It's worth your time to study this slide carefully. Looking for people who are clear thinkers, good at figuring out what needs to be done, and can make it happen. Not so much we need to worry about right there. Good words, don't think those are on the exam though. Again, good words, don't think they're on the exam. And the reason I say that is because I'm trying to remember exactly what all questions are. I've just looked over them, but my mind isn't always the greatest. Dynamic capabilities are not on the exam. This is important, and that's just about how you develop capabilities in the three stages. The first is when you just need to do something new, you try to do it and you develop the ability. Doesn't mean you're very good at it, but you have the ability. Then as you get better, then when you do it well at a reasonable cost, then it becomes a core competence. When you practice it hard, you become better than your rivals, then it becomes a distinctive competence. This is rising to the level of distinctive competence is something that frankly just doesn't happen in a lot of firms, and the ability to create a distinctive competence is a separator and a source of competitive advantage. That concept is important. Nothing on the exam for there. Outsourcing is going to be talked about a little bit on the exam. Again, dynamic capabilities not on the exam. Good slide, not on the exam, I don't think. Now we talk about outsourcing. So you got to decide what to outsource. You want to keep inside the firm what is critical. You're going to make decisions about how much to decentralize. We're going to talk about cross-unit coordination and supplier coordination. We're going to take a look at functional strategies, or I'm sorry, organizational strategies. These are the benefits of smart outsourcing: decreasing the bureaucracies, flatten the organization structure, speed the decision making, and shorten the response time. This slide will be important to you for the exam. What's left inside the company are things that you should focus on doing a good job with. Now, organizational structures. So they talk about creating fit. I'm going to talk about some more than just is presented in the textbook. Again, we went over these in the slides. They talk about the traditional functional. A process department is one of their terms that may appear on the exam, but not so much a term that I like to use. They also talk about divisional forms. Then we talked about centralized versus decentralized decision making. The key is to study this chart fairly carefully. I would guess that you'll probably see 2 to 3 exam questions that come off of information from this chart. These are the charts that I presented from another textbook that are not discussed, so let me make sure that you understand them. This is the typical functional organizational structure where everybody's organized underneath the boss. For example, there is one marketing manager and all the marketing people work for them. The advantages of this type of organization is it's easy to centralize decision making. It tends to be cost effective because you don't have any repetition. In other words, all the marketing people work in one place. You can also often develop a strong core competence because everybody works together. The weaknesses is it doesn't enable cross-functional communication, so it tends to make sure that decision making has to come up the chain, leap over, and then go down. Also, very importantly, is nobody has responsibility for the business as a whole except the CEO. So yes, the engineering manager is responsible for all the engineering, but if things go wrong, he can blame these other people. Well, the product didn't work because the marketing people didn't tell us the right features. Well, the product didn't work because the production people couldn't produce it at the right cost. That means that the overall profit and loss responsibility and overall accountability only really resides at the CEO level, and that's problematic. So again, just to recap, tends to be develop a lot of competence, tends to be a cost effective because there's no replication, but as a downside, it does not engender cross communication, cross cooperation. And even though each of these managers are accountable for their divisions, the only person really accountable for profit and loss responsibility is the CEO. The flip of that is the divisional form. And here, the division manager has all the expertise within their division. So now they do have their own marketing, their own engineering, their own production. And you see that Division B and Division C, they all have similar structures. So what the divisional form is really good at is engendering the right level of cross coordination because they're working at a lower level. This isn't the only marketing manager for the firm, and so it tends to work well for cross-level coordination. Also very important is this gentleman or lady also has profit and loss responsibility, so this system is good at pushing some of the accountability below the CEO level and making these general managers responsible and holding them accountable. The downsides to divisional structure is there can be some embedded cost because I do have multiple marketing departments across the company. They reside in different divisions. I also don't always have as much expertise because maybe there's marketing activities going on in this division that would make my people better, but they're not aware of them. Typically, divisional structures are done on geographic basis or on product basis, sometimes on business line basis. In a decentralized structure, the key is giving enough authority to allow them to operate, to do their job, but also to get them to do cross-business collaboration. And this is a good slide to read. I'm not sure if there's directly a test question, but it'll help you understand when we talked about the matrix, which is how a lot of people will talk about how this works in practice. So now on the top we have a functional manager, but we also create these project managements, and this is where you get the matrix. This is the cross-level coordination that they talk about. The problem with the matrix organization is pretty obvious. The person in these boxes have two bosses. They have the project boss and they have their manufacturing boss. And so even though this is considered to be quote-unquote an optimum structure because it engenders that cross-level coordination while reaping the efficiencies of the functional arrangement, in reality it becomes very complicated and a little bit confusing, and it also can erode accountability. But the biggest problem that people in the organization feel like is they now have multiple bosses. As far as collaborating with outside agencies, the key is that you need to appoint relationship managers who take care of these activities, and that will be important for you on the exam. And then I want to remind you that from the Globus implementation quiz, we talked about what makes ways to improve your credit rating, and also how can you raise your ROE, and those questions are highly likely to show up on the exam. That's it for Chapter 10.